Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting new episode of Snap Take, where we bring you at least 3 brand new decks. We've got more like 9 or 10 decks for you today. It's completely bonkers. We've got weekend mission decks, we've got an OTA, we've got everything for you. You're not going to find these decks anywhere else, I promise you. We're excited. This is a huge episode, and we just recorded the podcast with Rhea and Perry Manilow, and it was phenomenal. It comes out Saturday here on the channel. Let's get to our first thing, which is the OTA. We're going to talk about these changes one at a time, but let's take them at the top so you know what they are, just in case you missed them yesterday. So Thanos now has the added ability of being Quicksilver. He starts in your hand. He replaces a draw and starts in your hand. Nothing else has changed about Thanos the card himself. Don't let anyone else fool you. He is now also Quicksilver in addition to being Thanos. The Time Stone now only reduces Thanos and only the turn after you play it, but it still keeps its most important text, which is draw a card. We'll talk about what that does to Thanos momentarily as we get to these cards individually once more. Meek loses 1 power. Mikey is now a 1/0. Crossbones gets to be Cull, making everyone who spent and saved up on Cull Obsidian feel a bit silly, because he is now a 4/10, just like Cull Obsidian. Sabretooth is a 3/5. And Angela loses 2 power. She'll never recover. She's a 2/0, but she gets back her old ability of +2. That's huge. I love it. All right, let's start with Thanos. Thanos is now Quicksilver. I didn't bother to make a slide for the Time Stone, so I'm going to refrain from thoughts a little bit, because we know that Tuesday is a patch, and there will be more Thanos changes coming Tuesday. We don't know what they are. But for now, Thanos is again worse than he was yesterday. This is a real nerf. However, some people are overstating how bad of one. He has gone from a 4 in 18 chance to draw the Mind Stone in your original hand to a 3 in 17. That's not great odds, but it was never great odds. You've lost between about 4.5% odds, which is again real, as anyone who played America Chavez knows. He's worse, but he was probably like a solid 10% better than the field before. He's still probably a solid 5% better than the field. He's better than everything, but I don't think he's as much better than everything. And since people are kind of sick of him, I assume that pushes his play rate down. We will have far, far, far more thoughts on Tuesday when we know more about what's happening to this card. I decided to show you this Thanos just to show you how this could still work. Thanos is going to start in your hand now. So what you want to do is you want to make sure you're ramping so that you can get big stuff out, so that you can get it out of your hand if you want. I think Kyra is better in Thanos decks. This is the Lambie Thanos deck that he made when Red Hulk came out. Cards like Scar are better. A card like She-Hulk might go in the deck now. So things have changed for Thanos. Wave is obviously much better because you're guaranteed to be able to wave Thanos, which is going to immediately make Scar cheaper. There's a lot to like here, right? I don't think Thanos is dead. I don't think Thanos is gone. The other thing that you might want to do with Thanos right now is a Thanos High Evolutionary deck. Perry says this on the podcast. Full credit to Perry Manilow, who you should check out on Twitch. What Perry said is if you do a High Evolutionary Thanos, Thanos is always the first card you draw, very often the first card you draw, I believe, which means that Shocker will basically always make Thanos a 5/9, which is, pretty damn decent. Yeah, cool. Next up, we have Crossbones. Crossbones is a 4/10. You can still only play him in a lane you're winning. Silky Smooth is going to be like extra back. Crossbones with Eliath in the deck was really, really great in those Silky Smooth decks. Well, Silk is a 2/5, means you're very likely to get that Crossbones off. This is still going to be really good with Hope Summers as a very powerful card. Is it better than Cull Obsidian? I don't think so, but I think they're way, way, way closer than we would otherwise assume. I really like Crossbones a lot right now, straight up. And Crossbones now immediately goes into our friend Gunny T's Bigger, Dumber Idiots. This is a nice, simple deck. It runs both Crossbones and Cull, because why not both? I know it says a 4/8. Takes forever for the damn thing to update. Sorry. But Nightcrawler and Squirrel Girl allow you to play Cull Obsidian. You have all this early power from everything from Gladiator to if you need to drop Maximus early to Armor and Cosmo, that you should be able to pull a lane off to drop Crossbones in. Once you can do that, you can drop Ronin. And then your last turn, you're fine with either Blob or Red Hulk with this many big things in the deck. Or you can drop Scar, Maximus, and something else reasonably often, because you've got a Crossbones Cull. You've got either Crossbones or Cull and Ronin out, which is just like silly sauce in terms of power in Marvel Snap. There's an absolute ton. Both Nightcrawler and Squirrel Girl also, by the way, mean you can play Cull basically anywhere at your own leisure. Next up, we have Angela. Angela is now 2-0, but she gives +2 power. She's phenomenal. This is one of the most important early scaling cards of the game. She is now once more Kitty Pryde's best friend, and because Kitty Pryde has a new best friend, Hope, she, Kitty, and Hope are going to be a trio, and then those cards work amazingly with a previously buffed card again, Elsa Bloodstone. So you have this giant combination of cards that works great together. Is this enough to bring these decks back? I don't know, but I'm really excited to try this out. The first place I decided to go is this Fin Snap Loki deck, and yes, now that you ask, Cull Obsidian in this deck could be Crossbones if you don't have Cull. But the basic idea here is I can make myself a huge Kitty Pryde, and if I can make myself a huge Pretty Pryde and play Kitty and Loki on 5, I can play a ton of their cards and just have this stupidly big Kitty, and all my cards are going to get bigger because I have Angela and Elsa on the board. It's silly. It's amazing. I think that this deck is completely legit as one of the best decks in Marvel Snap right now. Is this enough for it to catch up to Thanos? Maybe. Like, genuinely maybe. I think we are desperately close to this being the best deck again. Luckily, we have Hela and Discard to keep it in check, which brings us to Meek. I'm pretty sure what the Thanos and Meek changes are telling us are that, well, fundamentally, I think Discard was secretly like the best deck or the best performing deck in their data, or at least in a part of the metagame that they care about. So they're just trying to shave a little bit of power off here, a little bit of power off there to get people to play it less so that no one realizes how freaking broken it is. Well, I'm on to you, second dinner. It's also the big Loki counter for when Loki gets really, really great again. And I'm pretty sure we're right around the corner from Loki being completely silly again with cards like Valentina coming later this month. The standard discard Dracula deck has not changed in any way, shape, or form because Meek lost 1 power. This is still the list. If you can play this list, you absolutely should. It is one of, if not the best decks in Marvel Snap right now, today. Next up, we have Sabretooth. Sabretooth gets 1 extra power. I don't really want to pretend that this is a real change. Sabretooth is still probably going to be unplayable. You can throw him into a deck like this. This is the standard discard list. You've seen it before. I put him in over freaking Nico. Do you really want Sabretooth over Nico? I know I don't. Do you want Sabretooth over Shang? Probably not. He's really nice for Venom. He makes your null nice and big, so he does have some use. But unless some more changes happen, I don't think he's it. All right, our first deck for today, our first real deck with a full guide, is Black Dama's Surprise, it's Galactus. This list is amazing. It operates first and foremost as a standard lockdown list. You can do the Stormquake thing, use Vision to steal lane or Doom to steal lane, and then you Alliath off or Shang off their bigger stuff and you win. It's really good. It's really simple to win that way. That's not what we're going to talk about when we break this deck down, though. You can find Black Dama at twitter.com/Black Dama, where the B is a 6. Unless it's Slack Dama, I don't know, whatever. Twitter names, what you can do. Nebula or Jeff can be Nightcrawler. You can try Sunspot too. Sunspot's actually reasonably good here. Not great, but reasonably good here. Zabu, Alioth, Galactus, and War Machine are all needed. I know, I'm sorry, but they are. And here's what this does that's so cool. So turn 1, you Nebula. Turn 2, you play Zabu over Jeff. Turn 3, you Storm. Then you Quake to put Storm in a lane that they have very little power in. Got it? It's really important that you try and get a really quiet lane for Storm. Then that lane is empty and relatively locked, right? From your opponent has little power there, you have no power there. They feel like they don't have to commit much more there because you don't have much power there, right? Then you drop War Machine or Vision, ideally War Machine. If you drop War Machine, you play Galactus then in the Flooded for a guarantee win in that location. You can also drop Alliath if you want to win the fair and normal way. It's brilliant. I love it. Huge props for this very, very cool idea and this very, very pretty deck that has several of my favorite variants in it, from Quake to Storm to Shang to Doom. And then I threw the Mimi Hip Galactus in because I feel like if you're going to Galactus people, you might as well meme on them. All right, please hit the sub and sub button. We're like 15 subs, 14 subs from 10K. Help us get there. It'd be really cool to hit 10K today. I'm beyond amazed at the amount of support we've gotten. We're like one of the 10-ish biggest Marvel Snap channels, at least in English. That's completely insane to me. We were the small guys. Our original tagline was we bring you the best decks faster than the meta can notice. And now sometimes we even shake up the meta. We still bring you 3 decks every single day. We do 7 days a week of videos. We cover everything from bundles to cards and everything else. Your entire Marvel Snap journey can begin and end on this channel. It shouldn't, because this community is brilliant and we want to build it more. But enjoy the decks from the community. Go support the community and make sure you get your information here. We'll do our best to keep you in it every day. Or questions of the day. Smite Beast asks how much money I've spent and what my progression level is. I'm at like 17,000-ish collection level, and I'm game complete. I was not until they switched to Spotlight Caches. Spotlight Caches were very generous for a player like me. I always had a lot of resources, but I had been hoarding tokens and not buying every card when we got into Spotlight Caches. And because I was able to like hoard credits leading into Spotlight Caches and then do the like tricky thing to get extra things, by the time Spotlight Caches were a couple weeks old, I had every card in Marvel Snap. Since then, it's been relatively easy for me to maintain it. I don't buy much more than the Season Pass anymore, although any really good value bundle, like there was that really good value Christmas bundle, for example, that was worse than it should have been, but still very good value, I will buy because I want to encourage devs to continue releasing really good value bundles. When they don't release good value bundles, I will not spend because I don't like rewarding them for releasing things that are not beneficial to their customers. Cool. I have overall spent way too much money, but it's also worth remembering that I spend at least $150 every month on giveaways. I don't have a separate amount that I've spent on the game otherwise, but prior to Spotlight Caches, I spent about probably between 100 and 150 a month on top of that on the game. It's worth remembering, though, that as a content creator, this is a tax write-off for me, so I'm not encouraging anyone else to follow my lead. Cool. Nick Cope wants to know if Red Hulk is power creep. Yes, but not for the reasons we tend to think power creep happens. They're not making a power creep card, I think, to like sell more cards. I think that since Alioth, they've been looking for a 6-drop that they could release that could be like a 6-drop that's like the lane winner 6-drop that's on a par with cards like Magneto and Doctor Doom, because Magneto and Doctor Doom are like the evergreen 6s, right? They want another 6 that's like the single lane version of those cards, because Magneto's power is that he pulls stuff to his lane, and Doom's power is that he spreads stuff across lanes, right? So they want a 1-lane version of it. They tried with Alioth, they tried with Blob, now they're trying with Red Hulk. They are not getting that right. But like, can you honestly say that current Red Hulk is more powerful than original Alioth or original Blob? Of course not, right? Those are clearly better cards than Red Hulk. They're trying again and again to get this card right. I'm hoping the failure of Red Hulk, and I think Red Hulk will down the line be a failure. I'm hoping their failure of Red Hulk means that they finally give this design direction a rest. All right. Janksy wants to know my favorite card this season. I'm really excited for Valentina. I think Valentina is going to be really, really fun. I like Loki. I don't love Loki mirrors, and I know it's toxic, I'm sorry. But look, I like decks where things move and a lot of things happen and things bounce around and cards are generated and stuff like that. And the best card for that type of deck this season is Valentina. It's a random generation that works really great with Loki, which means I get to play a lot of cards that move and bounce, because obviously I'm running Kitty, Angela, Elsa, and Hope in that deck at this point. So I'm like 100% for this. I'm very excited for Valentina. I don't think Valentina is the best card. I think Valentina is like the third or fourth best card this season, but she is really fun. Straight Edge would like to know my favorite moment with my students, and that's I'm not going to tell you ever, because like every few weeks there's one. My favorite moment this year is I was feeling really down on my teaching. Almost any good teacher beats themselves up. And I'm no exception. I get down on myself about content, about everything, right? Like, I'm a human being, promise. So, like, I'm a fairly well-adjusted human being, I think, but, like, I am a human being. So, like, I decided, like, I was getting old, and the kids didn't like me or care about me anymore, and, like, I was just, like, I was losing it, and I didn't have a fastball anymore, and I'm just, like, sort of beating myself up. And I didn't tell anyone this, I just felt it kind of quietly for a while, and I was teaching one day, and at the end of the class, the kids handed me a piece of paper, and it said, "We love Glazer," and there was just like, I actually posted this in the little Snapchat League Discord. It was fairly recent, and it was just, "We love Glazer," and then like all the kids in the class had signed it, and I thought it was like incredibly sweet. And like, not only was it incredibly sweet, but the timing of it was like beyond perfect for my own mental health. And then a couple of periods later, A bunch of seniors hang out in my room. Like, I teach juniors, so a bunch of seniors hang out in my room all the time, and I'm aware that it's not entirely logical given all the things I'm saying to really get down on myself in my teaching, but these aren't logical feelings, right? So I'm starting to feel better and like blah, and then the seniors brought me a cookie cake that said, because I have to yell at the seniors to shut up relatively often, right? Because they want to talk sometimes, and they brought me a cookie cake that said, "Sorry, we never STFU." And I laughed so hard I almost cried. It was adorable, and it was just so validating. And I've look, things have been hard with well, I don't want to get into it. The stuff that I talked about 2 videos ago at the end of the video, things have been really hard emotionally. But thanks to that week, it gave me enough of my confidence back to try and fight through it, and it was really, really sweet. If you'd like your questions read out in tomorrow's video, please leave them in the comments. Oh, not tomorrow's video. Sorry, tomorrow we just released the podcast. Sunday's video. Sunday is when we're doing our next video. All right, Den's best Zemo deck. Our friend Den of Marvel Snap Zone swears by this Zemo deck, and I've played enough Marvel Snap to know that when Den swears by a deck, we should probably be playing it. I'm going to tell you I would make one change, though. I don't think Enchantress is a requirement. Enchantress is here largely because the Wong Surfer bullshit has Luke Cage and Wong in it, and that gets rid of that. And we're seeing Patriot shit all over the place again, so Enchantress handles that bullshit too. And Patriot shit in particular will ruin your Valkyrie's day. All good? So this is a nice straightforward bounce deck where it's trying to win with Werewolf, but it has enough extra power thanks to Zemo, and it can just mill your opponent out sometimes with Zemo and Yondu, which is a nice combo when you can pull it off, but not the most common thing. So you're saying, opponent, I'm going to make a giant werewolf and wreck one of your locations with Valkyrie. Do your best. Please, as I'm doing this, deal with me milling out your cards and spider hamming one of the cards in your hand. Cool. Also, demons are big. Or you can find Den at twitter.com/DenCCG. The real place to find Den, of course, is Marvel Snap Zone, where he is our lead writer. Also, because people have been asking me, I do that monthly rank all the cards thing, and Marvel Snap Zone's WordPress acted up the one night this week I had free, and so I've been trying to find time since then to do it. I fully plan to write it tomorrow, which means it's going to be out a little bit later than usual. I am genuinely very sorry. I will not make that a habit. They released the video late, which means I couldn't poll everyone until late, and then when the site went down for literally a couple hours, just a couple hours I happened to have free, there was nothing I could do. So I will get it to you as soon as humanly possible. I promise. The article is not gone. We'll still have sleeper decks and everything else written there. All right, Ham here can be Iceman. Not as good, but still very good. You need Zemo and Werewolf and Swan. This is literally built for them. You can try Zabu for Hope. It's not as good, but it works just fine. So my general working assumption when Den is this confident a deck is that he's probably right. He's brilliant. He sits way too high on the leaderboard, and he is the best coach in Marvel Snap I've ever met, so you should listen to him. Turn 1, I like Hood over Yondu over Ham. I would like to wait for Ham to see if they can play a cheap thing or two. I used to say this all the time, but I stopped saying it, so I'm just going to remind everyone, when Nico is in a deck, you don't play Nico on a specific turn. You play Nico when she has the right spell and you have the right card in hand. There are 1,000 things you're looking for in this, so it's really hard to say. Sometimes the push to the right thing is amazing against, for example, an opposing Storm when your opponent thinks you can't get in there. Sometimes the draw 2, which is usually completely busted, is utterly terrible as you only have things you actually need in hand for this particular matchup. There's no sure rhyme or reason. You will have to play Nico enough to know, but when you get it down, she's amazing. So turn 1 and 2 are basically play a bunch of ones. Turn 3, you play Hope, or you bounce some of the ones. Turn 4, you play Werewolf, or you guessed it, you bounce some of the ones. Turn 5 is Black Swan, and bounce again, or bounce for the first time as the case may be. Then turn 6, you play free ones to move that Werewolf around, and you play those with either Valkyrie or Baron Zemo. Yes, Baron Zemo last turn, because by then you're hopefully just getting a big card. This deck really, really, really relies on you knowing what's in your opponent's deck. Yondu helps for that. You should know if they have anything good left when you decide to Zemo or play other cards. All good? It's really cool and really powerful. In Den we trust. We have weekend mission decks. We have 2 more Zemo decks, and we've given you one of in each of the last 2 days, and 2 more Red Hulk decks, and we've given you 1 in each of the last 2 days as well. Then we have 2 decks with both, including a full deck guide for the last one. It's quite a spicy list. Get ready. First, we have Surfer Zemo. This is a nice, simple Surfer Zemo list. You might have noticed that Baron Zemo costs 3. This is the highest win rate version, by the way, right now. That Surfer costs 3. Sorry, Zemo costs 3. That means it works with Surfer. Shaw loves Surfer. Forge loves Surfer. Okoye, Shaw. You get the whole idea here, right? Daken loves all these pumps. You've got Killmonger to get rid of that. You can even, you get the extra energy to play that shard from Hope, so on. If you play the shard before you destroy it, it makes Mockingbird cheaper, as does the Brood. Absorbment can copy the shard, it can copy the Brood, which all makes Mockingbird cheaper. Everything here synergizes really, really well. This is a very cool and very powerful deck that I have no idea who built, but it is working. I'm going to guess this is literally 100% a guess. It didn't have a million games, but it had a fair number of games at a really high win rate. I feel like half the time when I do that, it's like a Hooglin. So I'm going to guess this is a Hooglin. Let me know if you know whose this is in the comments, please. It is quite good, though. All right, next up, we have a Loki list. I love me a good Loki list. This is a classic Loki list. This is, again, the highest win rate current Loki list that runs Baron Zemo. It's got the Devil Dino and the Mockingbird, so it's got multiple big things to do in the games it does in Loki, and it's got like a ton of draw cards. Maria Hill, Snowguard, Cable, Coulson, all draw cards. Zemo will take from the opponent's deck. It doesn't bother to do anything but Zemo. Zemo's just an end of the game play. He's like a turn 5-ish play. You're playing him ideally to like give yourself an immediate Ms. Marvel trigger, and then you just drop like a Devil Dino and Mockingbird, or Devil Dino or Mockingbird to end the game, and you should be able to pull off wins without Loki. It's not a requirement for this deck, but it is really cool with Ms. Marvel, and this is like the pure power version of the deck. The card replaces Gladiator in this version, largely because it has the extra Ms. Marvel synergy, but again, not a super duper requirement. Next up, we have This Deck is Stupid, Black Knight Rolk. We're going to be calling Red Hulk Rolk. If you didn't know, that's what we called him in the comics when he first came out, and he was obviously Thunderbolt Ross, and everyone's like, he's totally not Thunderbolt Ross in the comics. It's like, yes, he is. This is your standard ass Black Knight, right? You play Black Knight stuff, and you can discard stuff, and then you can get it back. This deck probably now wants Crossbones in it, so you can figure out how to get Crossbones in it if you want. Probably, unfortunately, for either Nico or Giganto. I guess probably fine for Giganto. And then you just have an extra giant thing to play that you can discard with Black Knight and still get a 4/10 shard that can't be destroyed. Like, you'd obviously rather discard the Infinite, right? But sometimes you just get a giant shard and you're perfectly fine with that. This one also throws in a Taskmaster, because if you do get a 20 power shard, copying that 20 power shard is hilariously stupid. There's a lot to like about this list. It is a lot of power, and it does a lot of really cool things. If you have access to it, you should totally play it. I mean, I'll never play it, but you should. I think this is kind of dull. Next up, Tucker updated his Kitty Shuri list, and of course, Tucker being Tucker, he updated it by adding 2 Series 5 cards, but we covered this deck at length yesterday. A bunch of people hit Infinite with it from yesterday's video, so if you're interested, please check out yesterday's video for the play-by-play. It was deck number 1, the Pirate King Tucker, one of my very favorite people in all of Marvel Snap. He cut America Chavez for Nico Minoru, because look, Nico's my most played card last season. I love Nico. Nico giving Kitty extra power is amazing. Odds are, hate to say it, but that just becomes Angela now. And he took out Red Skull for Cannibal, which I think is just hilarious, because this was like a Shuri Red Skull deck. And it was like, you know what though? Cannibal's really good. And if like you're playing big things, I can just punch that out of my way and win. It's very fun. It's, again, like a 60 power Cannibal is almost unfair. So we love this deck. We're very happy that our friend Tucker made it and then shared his updated version with us. Next up, Rule Loki. This is Red Hulk, Baron Zemo, Loki. This is our friend Safety's deck. I almost covered this deck, and I've been playing this deck, but it's too silly, right? It basically says, I've got this little Zemo package of Yondu, Zemo, Gladiator. Again, be careful of playing Gladiator after Yondu and Zemo. It makes it less likely to work, and Cable helps those cards while also helping Loki. That's sort of the crossover between the two. And then it's got Maria Hill and Snowguard and Coulson for Loki. And then sometimes Red Hulk is just the biggest thing, and you can drop it at the end of the game. Now, the real beauty of this kind of list to me is, since Red Hulk is telling your opponent when your power is huge, what you do is you let Red Hulk be a distraction, and as your opponent thinks you're going to Red Hulk, you drop Zemo and then something else, and then you should, like a Coulson card, and you should be able to win that way while they're trying to like Shang you and stuff, and you're just like, no, I got all these other powerful cards elsewhere. I love this list. Genuinely love this list. We'll probably do a full guide on it, except Safety built another version of Loki that's got the Elsa bullshit that I love that I'll probably end up covering. We'll figure it out by Sunday or Monday. Have no fear. Next up, we've got Owlgod's list. I named this because today is Friday, and guess what? I'm in love with this deck. This is a silly, silly list that's really strong for no reason. It has like a stupidly high win rate. We'll get to that as we go. Basically, it says I can win with Professor X and Cannibal, and otherwise I can just drop a Red Hulk. I've got Cosmo, and if I drop that Red Hulk on that Cosmo, what you gonna do? Right? And then otherwise I can Shang-Chi your face. I can stop you with Mobius. I can win that Professor X lane with Jeff. I can tell where to Professor X with Daredevil. Just so many silly combos with this. It again doesn't try and do anything cute with Zemo. Zemo here is largely a way to make sure that you win a Professor X lane, because Zemo into Professor X is actually a really, really nice combo. All right, so we've got twitter.com/owlsnap. Owl is one of the best deck builders and players in all of Marvel Snap, which he proved by climbing from 40,000 to top 100 in about 4 days at the end of last season. In this deck, Spider-Ham can be Iceman or Nebula. I actually like Nebula a lot here. Iron Lad can be Enchantress. You lose a little bit, but not too much. I think Enchantress is really good in the meta right now. Mobius can be Luke Cage. I think Mobius is better, but Luke is getting more and more important by the day in Marvel Snap. Jeff, Cannibal, and Zemo are required. Zemo, I guess, could be Gladiator, but I think the point is that it's Zemo. And you can try Alioth for Red Hulk. They actually kind of do the same thing here, except that makes your Cosmo significantly worse. All good? All right, so this is 26 and 12 for 64% win rate. Turn 1, you Ham. Turn 2, Daredevil is more or less equal to Cable, which is better than Jeff. Turn 3, you Zemo over Mobius. Over Cosmo, depending on what you have. Turn 4 is Lad. Turn 5, Professor X or Lad. Turn 6, Shang or Cannibal or Red Hulk. And guess what? When you've done that, you've won the game Marvel Snap. And enjoy your cubes. I might hit Infinite with this. I can't decide what I want to hit Infinite with. So, as you're watching this, today will be the first day I've actually had any free time this season. And then that free time was fairly severely curtailed because Friday, usually, like I get my son every day after school. Friday is usually the day that my mother gets my son and spends time with him. But she is unable to due to prior obligations. So I'll be hanging out with him again tomorrow. Not that I mind hanging out with him, but it is the day I kind of relax and write and get caught up on stuff and actually play Marvel Snap for like longer than like an hour. But we'll get caught up at some point. We'll get there. Hopefully you try this deck though, because it's a thing of beauty. Certain tiers of support on Patreon come with on-air thanks. We've got Abigail Gisela, Mandatory Burnout, Cables, David G. Wingfield, Direwolf, LAB, Fothor Newman, who you should follow on YouTube, Good Dog Gamer, Inc., Jane Everett, JJ McDonaldino, who you should follow on Twitch, Kerrick Slee, Koi Ray, KCH, Doku, Philip Ratkovich, Haplo, Kenny Loggins, Living in the Danger Zone, Rob Silverman, Juan Diego Lebed, The Bizza, X-Force V, Skippy G, Tommy Nyquist, Black Dahlia, The Great Kazoo, Jessica Gamble, Ryan Wood. Just occurred to me, by the way, X-Force V loved your comment yesterday. Mod Supreme Models, my former student, Louis Antunes, Matt H., Mikey Hijinks, NoFlex, Ocularis, Craig Sterry, Pretty Chill, Seamus, Spike Jones, Two Ties, The Pirate King Tucker, The Homie Min, and of course, Gunny T. You know what the T stands for? See you tomorrow for another Snap Take. Hit that sub. Let's get to 10K, folks. Peace.